Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Megan,
And this is Joe Smith.
and we're back again. I'm so proud of our consistency with getting our podcast recorded in 2024. Super excited to see that we have quite a few live folks here from the collective. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Today, we're going to be doing a variety of topics because I posted in our Facebook group and I sent an email and I had 3 different topics to choose from and there was like only 4 votes, but it was such a last minute thing. But there was a vote basically for each of the topics. One topic did get 2 votes, which was about resources that I created for FABA. So we'll probably go over that one for sure. But I think we have time to talk about all 3 because they're all kind of topics that shouldn't take very long. So just as a kind of an overview, one was to talk about a conference that's coming up called CPABA. And then another one is to talk about a conference I'm planning for December called Rejected. And then the third thing was to look at these resources that I created for FABA. So I'm going to start with the CPABA conference just because that's happening the soonest. And then also I'm going to be screen sharing for the resources that I made. So I was going to kind of just do that at the end so I don't have to go back and forth. So hopefully that works for everyone. What do you think about that, Joe?
I love that. So for those people who don't know, like what is CPABA?
Yes. So the CPABA conference is being held online October 11th and 12th. And it's being organized. It's organized by Jennifer Fitzpatrick and some other people, but she's the one I've mostly been like talking to. So that's why like I know her name the most with it. And there's I think like over 90 CEs available for it. So the idea behind the conference, and I'm actually going to pull up the page so that I can, read it and tell you all about it and not mess it up, is basically to try to bring together differing perspectives about different topics in behavior analysis. So I'm on quite a few panels talking about assent, ableism, early intervention and like play-based ACT and like PFA. I feel like I'm missing one. I'm on like 5 different ones and it's hard to memorize all of them. So, but I'll be on panels on Friday and Saturday. And basically each person on the panel is going to share their thoughts about the topic and like any resources or research and those types of things. Hopefully this will happen in a way that can share perspectives. I expressed my concern that if we're going to have discussions like this, we should be making sure it's to learn from each other and not be defensive and argumentative and just dig in deeper on our own perspectives. And they are putting out information about that being part of the focus. So I'm hoping all of the presenters will participate in a way that they're curious and open to learn from each other. However, given that it is people presenting from different perspectives, I don't know if that will 100% happen because we've all seen examples in the field at conferences or in journal articles or on Facebook or other social media where people just sort of go at each other and don't actually have like educational, open and curious conversations. So I just put the link in the chat for those that are on live, and I'll put it on the Facebook live too for that particular conference. I do have, that was weird. I tried to put it in and it did something. No. I do have an affiliate link or a discount code or something. So I'll add that as well. I just need to find it. I'm not very organized right now. I was traveling for like 3 weeks, so I'm a little bit out of it. But here's the description of the conference. It says, welcome to the CPABA Conference 2024, where our mission is to bridge the gap between research and clinical practice and applied behavior analysis therapy. CPABA is central to advancing clinical practices and ABA therapy, focusing on enhancing the quality of care, standardizing procedures, and ensuring ethical practices in therapy delivery, particularly for autism and other disabilities. Our key initiatives address critical issues such as funder concerns, clinical regulatory issues, authorizations, implementation, selection of interventions, assessments, treatment plans, staff training, and documentation, factors that directly impact the clinical practice of ABA therapy. Any topic related to clinical work is covered comprehensively at this conference. It goes into more detail, but I'll just tell you some of the list of events. I can't tell you all of them because it's kind of long, and then I'll see if anyone has questions from looking at the different links before we move on. So there's a panel on RBT training needs and curriculum depend on service locations, documentation of clinical services more than just compliance, elevating ABA businesses using meaningful measures, qualified quantity, and compassionate care, writing goals that fuel interventions, application of goal writing, sleep and sleep interventions within the ABA realm. This is one that I'm on, is ableism helping or hurting ABA therapy. And I'm on this one with 3 people who may not agree with me, so that's going to be fun. Understanding an autism diagnosis, is it a medical diagnosis or medical disorder? What do BCBAs need to know about diagnostics? Moving from colonial to participatory research practices, integrating neurodiversity and ACT and AIM strategies. And for this one, it's Mandy Ralston, Meg, that you've all seen hopefully from Do Better and across environments, and the Reframe webinar that we did, and she's been had some of her other webinars with us. Ashton Benedict, so that should be a really good panel. Safely and ethically navigating sexual behaviors. The triple threat in ABA therapy, this one should also be interesting, although I wish there were additional panelists on this one because I feel like only one perspective is being represented. Social media, financial incentives, and the crisis of inexperienced BCBAs. This panel is John Bailey, Hank Schlinger, Robert Ross, and Deirdre Muldoon. So yeah, that's just a few examples. I'm not, like I said, going to go through all of them. There's over 90 CE options. So if I read through all of them, it would take quite some time. But does anyone have thoughts or questions? I can tell you what I do know about it. Is anyone planning to attend? What do you all think?
I love the fact that they have like 90 different CEU credits available like to like get at this conference. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a wide array of different topics that are pretty prominent right now in our field as well, which I really like too as well. So, and it's only virtual, right?
Yes, it's all online.
So you can actually attend this conference in your home and be in your PJs and not have to leave the couch.
Yeah.
Which is the
And
best.
it's based on mountain time, which is interesting. So it's based on the first panel. I mean, it does start early. I think the first panel is at 7 a.m. Mountain Time, which is 9 a.m. Eastern, but it goes until I think like 8 o'clock at night Mountain Time, which is 10 p.m. Eastern. So you can have more than 12 hours of ABA in your life on that Friday and Saturday if you want to. But there's also the discount code. I just looked it up. I have a discount code where you can get 24%, you can get 10% off if you use DeLeon 2024. So I just put that in the chat as well. And I'll put that in the show notes for anyone who is interested. If you haven't registered, you'll get 10% off. Let's see. Can I ask you about your comment, Nicole? So Nicole said, I'm doing a sex trafficking hunt that weekend, but I may sign up to watch later if I ever find the time. Can you explain that?
Yeah, it sounds bad, right? My husband and I volunteer with a nonprofit, and we do open source intelligence. We use open source intelligence to track down persons of interest and victims, and we turn all that information over to the law enforcement agency that's asked for our assistance. So it basically just cuts down on the time that they have to spend doing that. And once a quarter, we do like a hunt. You can either be in person or online, and we basically split up into cells, and everyone tries to work through as many cases as they can.
Wow. I didn't even know that was a thing. I feel like you need to do like a whole session with us about that, and maybe you can pull some interested folks in. Are they looking, do they look for volunteers consistently, or how do you get involved with that?
It's almost completely volunteer based, and my husband and I have just always like had a heart for that and wanting to help in that area. And so we just like happened to find this organization. And a couple times a year they bring in new like volunteer groups, and you have to do a test to make sure that you know a little bit about like gathering that kind of intelligence, and then they will do some training, and there's lots of different opportunities that are given to you to attend conferences on it and get certifications and additional training, and stuff like that. But we just started not too long ago, and it's been really cool so far.
Wow. That's really interesting. Yeah, definitely after you've been doing it for a little bit, I'd love to have you talk to us more about it. I don't think it would be like a CE thing. It would be more like in a weekly meeting or something, but if you're open to it, I think that would be
Absolutely.
interesting,
Yeah.
for folks to learn more about. Thanks for sharing. Well, does anybody have any thoughts or questions, concerns about the conference based on the little bit that I went over, or like looking at the website?
I mean, it sounds like a great opportunity for those that need CEU credits or just wanting to learn more.
Mhm.
I like the idea that uh, you said that the people running it did send out a message saying to this is a place for each person to learn from each other and just learn about ABA and view different and have an open mind to this, right?
Yes, so on the actual page, I don't know what information they're giving to attendees. They're creating, it says at the bottom of the description on the homepage, all presentations will be equipped with comprehensive resources designed to ensure immediate and effective integration. Each session will provide attendees with templates, checklists, training materials, and implementation procedures. As panelists, they're asking us to contribute to that effort, but they're also doing some of their own work with it as well. Like I have stuff I have to turn in by October 1st. So that's a little bit unique for folks who are attending. And then again, I don't know in terms of the people attending the panel, but it says that here's what sets the conference apart: support and validation. All lectures and workshops provide avenues for BCBA and clinical staff to validate treatment decisions. Structured discussions, engage in structured discussions on critical industry issues. Research integration, each presentation seamlessly integrates research, practical workshops, comprehensive resources, and quality assurance. Our unique approach bridges theory and practice, ensuring all participants leave with practical, actionable plans and strategies. But I don't know, like I said, how much they're giving in terms of people participating. Like this is the expectation. I know that they're planning on having moderators for the panels. I'm not sure if they're planning to have them, I kind of encourage like, hey, when I used to do something like this with the difficult discussions, this is how we structured it. And maybe you all can try to incorporate something like that where each person shares their perspective. And then at the end, we all share an aha moment we had where we're learning from each other and not just like arguing with one another. So we'll see. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I hope it does. But it's definitely going to be an interesting experience for me, as like I said, I'm on quite a few different panels with people who I historically know do not align with what I say and do.
Well, I'm clicking through right now to sign up, and there is like a multi-part like disclosure for you to sign as a participant and agree to several different areas. And I've never had that for a conference before, so it looks pretty like they're trying at least.
Yes, that was one of the things, because I was a little bit hesitant when I first saw the topics and who I would be talking with. And so I was a little bit hesitant at first, but then I was encouraged with the the way they're attempting to, have some format and framing of let's work through these things, not fight with each other. So hopefully it goes as planned. I'll sure be trying.
Who proposed the topics? The people coordinating?
I think the people coordinating, yeah. Yep. So if you all look through and have any other questions, feel free to let me know. I'm more than happy to answer what I can or connect you with the conference organizers. But there are quite a few. I don't know if you all looked at the presenters, but either through already being invited, or they asked if I had anyone to suggest. So I tried to put people that have been part of our presenting with the collective. So we have, like I said, Ashton's participating, myself, my colleague Batul. I don't think you all have seen her present, but she's with Centria. Maggie from Unfurling Littles is presenting. And like I already said, Meg Solomon, Hillary Laney is going to be presenting. Just looking real quick to see who all the people are that we would be familiar with. Amanda Ralston. I already said Meg. Natalie. Leslie, your friend Natalie Williams Audea is going to be on there. And Rebecca Womack. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Rebecca, but her and I did a lot of advocacy work together back when TRICARE was a hot mess. So she and I go way back. But and there's other names of people that you all will be familiar with, but those are the ones that I know are typically aligned with the types of stuff we talk about with Do Better. So it'll be interesting to see kind of all the perspectives coming together. But yeah. Any other questions? And then I'll flip over to our next topic if there's not.
One question I have is, like, for those that want to attend, but they're conflicted between two sessions, are they able to go back and watch recordings of everything? Or is it just those 2 days?
I'm pretty sure the recordings will be available because of how they have it set up, but I'll confirm with Jen and then I'll let you all know for sure. I'm trying to see if it says anything on here about that. It says the seats are limited. But in order to have it be 90 CEs available, they would have to let you have access to recordings for at least a little bit of time, or they couldn't advertise 90 CEs, So hopefully, was there anything as you were registering, Nicole, that said anything about accessing recordings?
Not that I saw. I didn't read through everything and finish registering yet. So
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I'll double check when I look through it again.
Well, I will find out too. And Joe, I'll text you, but for those of you who are listening to this, I'll put it in the show notes as well once I find out.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So then the other potential topic for today was about the conference that I'm planning. And hopefully I feel comfortable talking about it on the podcast because I have like the dates chosen and more of a description planned out. It's not just in my head anymore. I just need to get it like through to the web developer and open and ready to go for actual happening. But so I had an idea a few months ago, I guess, where there seems to be quite a bit happening in the field lately, where there's people applying, myself included, to present at conferences, and there's not enough space. And I continue to see, it seems like the same voices at conferences presenting over and over. And I realize that I am a voice that is heard a lot, but I'm honestly, if you look, I'm not honestly at very many conferences, like state level or larger. I'm not typically presenting at in those spaces. It's stuff I've created for myself usually, or like side conferences, like the UCP CARES conference and stuff like that. So but I've noticed, and it's been a thing, it's a thing I think in every field, that there's like a Rolodex of speakers that kind of rotates every year. It's like every conference has the same speakers. Like somebody, oh, they spoke there, we want them too, kind of thing. And then you just see like the same presentations kind of happening. And it's wonderful that people all get a chance to see these presentations in their own states and things like that. However, we have over 50,000 BCBAs in our field now, and even more, obviously, RBTs and things like that. So I had this idea to do a conference, and it's going to be called Rejected. And I'm hoping to do it annually. So the point is to have anyone who has submitted presentations and there wasn't space for those presentations at the conference, submitted journal publications, but got rejected for their journal publications, or for whatever reason, have other barriers in place. It could be financial, it could be time, it could be imposter syndrome, whatever you think, name it. If you're a practitioner who is working and accomplishing things with your clients or in whatever area you're working in, like OBM or whatever it might be, and you want to share with people what it is that you're doing, this will be the opportunity to do that. So there will be 1 hour time slots and 2 hour time slots, and it's all going to be online, and it'll go throughout the month of December. So starting, I don't think, maybe the first one's December 1st, but depending on who signs up and how many presentations we end up having, it'll be from like December 1st until like the 19th or 20th. I cut it off getting close to Christmas time because I don't think many people will attend during that time frame. And then in terms of registration, I haven't 100% decided. I'm thinking at least for this year, it will probably be free for members. And then for people that aren't members, it will be basically donation based. But the other part of this is to make it accessible in terms of, I want the presenters to be properly compensated as well. So we do, the idea is we would have money to pay the presenters at least. So we'll have like a, description of why we're, suggesting this amount to pay, but really it'll be whatever people can do. And the presenters will all be compensated, and then trying also to have more accessibility features. I don't know 100% for this year if it will happen, but I'm going to be looking into trying to have sign language interpreters for each of the presentations. And obviously it's nice that we can have the closed captioning now with Zoom. That makes things a lot easier in some of the translation options and things like that. But there will also be guidelines for the presenters in terms of creating their slides, making sure that they're accessible for, vision impairments and things like that as well. So it won't be perfect. I know that, but the goal is to have an online conference that's financially and otherwise, like disability related, accessible for folks, and really put the highlight on practitioners. We are a practitioner based field. We need to get out of the ivory towers and really start to recognize and give just as much support and credit to the people who are doing the work every day, solving problems, coming up with creative solutions, making amazing progress. They're not going to be publishing. They're not likely going to be submitting to present at conferences, or they're definitely not going to be invited to present at conferences, to have an opportunity to share what they're doing with their peers. And hopefully, that can help peers level up as well and have resources to use in their own practices too. So that is Rejected.
I love this idea, Megan.
Questions?
I mean, and just the fact that it's a rolling like time slots, that's really cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Would this be a good opportunity for those who really want to present, get their toes, dip into presenting, but don't know what to present yet, but like just not ready for like a full conference yet?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and there's the hour time slots, but if someone were wanting to do similar to a conference where it's like 4 25-minute presentations or 4 20-minute presentations or whatever, or like 3. So it's maybe you have something you want to talk about and you have a couple peers at your company that also want to share, but you none of you want to do your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
You could, combine and have like your own little symposium type deal. And what I'm going to do is there's a few people who I've already had talked to that were expressing interest. So they'll be signing up. And there was, when APBA had a bunch of presentations that they couldn't accept because they just had so many submissions. And I have a thread of people from that I'm going to reach out to as well. And then, but there's like, I think I had like 40-ish time slots. Not that we'll necessarily fill all of those, but there's a lot of options, and it's during the day, during the evening, during the weekend. And I just basically looked at all of my availability in December. So I'm sure at some point in December, you'll see like exhausted Megan, because I'll be like, that was too much. Next year, we're not doing that much, but you know, I'm trying. And just to really make it an option for people to have an opportunity to present, get their feet wet, like you said, Joe, maybe get some more confidence behind them so that they feel more like they can contact their local conference and even talk about being an invited speaker. You know, whoa, that went really well. Maybe because, you know, conferences, well, at least as far as I've seen, there's the conference planning committee. They all meet and they talk amongst themselves about who to invite to their conference. But how often are people reaching out to conferences and saying, hey, I have this amazing research I've been doing, or I've been doing this work within my practice and I've been sharing it with people and it's really being well received. Would you consider inviting me to present to you? Like, it doesn't, why do we have to sit around and wait for the conferences to ask to try to figure out who we are when we're not publishing or out there in the spotlight? We can put ourselves out there, but how do you build that confidence if there's not really a place to do that? So hopefully this will be one of those avenues. I also just saw this, it's so funny because it definitely shows the need. I don't know how many of you who follow Georgiana Koyama, but she is out of the UK, and she's I don't know if she's hosting it or if she's participating. I didn't get a chance to really look at it yet, but she was advertising they're doing like an RBT focused conference and having RBTs present. So I'm super excited to see that. We're definitely going to need more of that, especially as RBTs start needing CEs in 2026, but really learning from the people who are doing most of the one-on-one work at this point. It's like, how do we keep moving forward as a field if we're not learning from the folks implementing the services and what barriers they're facing, or what you know, stars they're grabbing, what progress they're making, all of that kind of stuff. So
I love
your
this. Love
conference-
this.
Your
What'd you say?
conference will have CEs?
Yes, so it'll have CEs, and it'll be right now, at least for this, what I'm picturing for this year is we'll have the registration open through a certain point in time, and then we'll probably close it. So people can have the opportunity to join, especially at that like discounted rate, but we also have an idea of how many people are participating. But once you've purchased it, like say somebody doesn't even need CEs and they're like, it's December, I don't need any more CEs. I've just finished all the fall conferences, like I'm good. We'll have the recordings will be available. So people can hold on and wait and watch the recordings for the CEs, just like all of our other courses and things like that. And then I'm likely going to have, for the people choosing to present, an option where they can choose to have their presentation available to be released through Do Better at some point, but we're probably not going to release them all at once, because if we put out too much at once, it gets lost in the shuffle. And I want to try to organize it too based on the topics, kind of like drip stuff out depending on what the topics are and what people might be interested in. So if folks don't end up registering for the conference, they might still be able to access the content through, but it also depends. Like if I have too many people contacting me, oh my gosh, I didn't know about the conference, then we'll probably open it up. It's just hard when we have these, like the bigger conferences that we've done, when we put those up on the site for like purchase later, nobody seems to really, they just sort of skip over it. So they just are looking, they don't want something that's 40 CEs. They're like, I need 2 CEs, just 2, that's it. So when we have them in a bundle like that, a lot of times it gets skipped over. Any other thoughts or questions? Who wants to participate? Who's going to submit something? Joe, Leslie, Nicole?
You know, I definitely want to. I just don't know what to do. But I want to do something more like with adult services.
Yes.
just because I never see that at conferences, is talking about providing adult like consultation services or uh, um for adults, because and it's a huge need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the thick of it with transition with my own child. And lately there's been some good sources just because I've been lucky enough when I did my degree program in 2018. There's people in that cohort going for their PhD, but I don't think the average parent of a teenager in high school is getting, at least at the school level, the transition support that they need.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
I'm still working through that, but I don't see a lot on that either leading into adulthood.
Yep. Well, and I think too, we can have where there's going to be an option for people to put, if there's something you want to talk about. So like Leslie, for example, if you wanted to talk about that, but you're thinking, I'm not entirely sure this would qualify for CEs, but it's information that people need to have, then we will have it on the form that people fill out to submit their presentation, where they can say, oh, this won't qualify for CEs, but it's, you know, just information that people need. And that's, you know, perfectly fine as well. So. Any other questions?
Go sign up. That's my own thing, is everyone needs to go and sign up.
Where do we sign up? So I'm hoping to have it roll out in October, all the stuff for like signing up for presenting first, because I want to obviously get that situated. And then hopefully by the end of October, beginning of November, we'll have the registration up for the actual conference. So does that sound
So
good?
anyone that's interested, just look towards the end of October.
Yes. Yep. All right. I feel like I've been talking a lot. Does anybody have anything else they want to chat about before I show you all this resource that I created for FABA? Leslie's already seen it. She got a sneak peek.
How was FABA, Megan?
Well, I didn't honestly go to too many presentations because we had a booth. I had a booth there with Step Forward, Dia, Ascari, Behavior Man. And we were having a lot of fun because we had a photo booth and we were doing a scavenger hunt. So I was mostly just interacting with people in that way. And that was really fun. To just, you know, connect with people again, because it's been quite a while since I've been to a conference. And I was able, because they had Behavior Live, I was able to pull up some of them I was like listening to in my AirPods, but I didn't need the CEs. So, you know, it's a little hard to be to be motivated to go sit when I could stand there and interact with people at the table. So yeah, that part was good. I was a little disappointed because I had a presentation that I was supposed to be doing with my friend Holly, and she wasn't able to be there, but there were only 6 people that came to the presentation. And it was on ADA, like how to focus on accommodations for employees. So I was like, either the other topics that are happening right now, which there was an insurance talk happening, which there's a lot of changes for insurance all the time, but especially in Florida right now, there's some big changes happening with Medicaid. So I think a lot of people were obviously, you know, very motivated to go to that particular talk. I don't know what other talks were happening at the time, and people could attend online as well. And I couldn't see how many people were online. So it is possible that there were more people watching, but to me, it kind of was like, is this how, you know, is this a signal of how unimportant people find this topic? Because it's pretty important, but yeah. So that was a little rough, but other than that, like we had fun at the social dancing and connecting with people and stuff like always. Yeah.
That's always fun. It's like going to conference and just connecting with people and networking. That has always been like the fun part of conference for me, is just meeting people and just talking and having really good conversations.
Yes. Yep. Sorry, Eric said when we were talking about, I missed it in the comments he's on Facebook. He said, go on the offense. I had a number of clinicians reach out to speak at our conference. So that's awesome. He's talking about the UCP Cares conference, and they did. I don't know how many people got to attend that, but they had an awesome array of invited presenters and then also featured presentations from submissions as well. And it was all practitioners who were sharing how they were implementing more compassionate practices. So, all right, do you all want to see what I created for FABA? So obviously, if you're listening to this as a podcast, you're not going to be able to see this. You can go to our YouTube channel or go to our Facebook page and look at the live or the recorded version of it where I'm sharing my screen, or you can wait. We are going to be putting this out through the collective at some point. So this will be hopefully in the next like week or two, we'll have this up on the collective as well. But I was trying to figure out something especially based on the discussions and things we've been having in here. So it's called the Do Better Field Guide, the Day-to-Day BA edition, quick tips and actionable checklists for behavior analysts and everyday practices. And there's basically, well, this just kind of explains what's in here. I'm just going to skip through that part. There's different tip sheets for a lot of the topics that we talk about on a regular basis. There's still more that I could have made, but I literally made these with like a few hours in between my travels and just had like, I always have these, light bulb moments. And then it was like, oh no, but I don't have very much time to make them. So there's still ones like there's more I could do with like the work we've been doing on neurodiversity affirming and working with parents on that. And then imitation and all sorts of things. But for now, these are the different topics that I decided to make. So the first one is phases of language development, and it just goes through different tips for looking at the phases of language development. And then there's a checklist. So for each of the tip sheets, there's an implementation checklist so people can check whether or not they're implementing the tips. And then if you're using it for training, you can use it for training your staff as well. There's one on implementing assent-based practices that talks about assent, emotional regulation, communication preferences, and some strategies for navigating assent. Same thing, there's a checklist for that one as well. Fostering emotional regulation in learners. This one's a little bit shorter because it's such a hard one to really go deep on. Like I have a 6-hour workshop on it. So it's more of just like some highlights about what emotional regulation is and why it's important. And then again, there's the implementation checklist. Effective early intervention and natural environment training, building social communication and engagement, and talks about some of the current research within naturalistic practices and why play-based would be preferred. And then again, there's the implementation checklist. Individualizing toilet training. This was the hardest one to make because I wanted to have something that was like typical barriers that people face and how do we address those. So this isn't like your typical, like this is how you do toilet training, but it's more like these are some of the issues you might run into and like here are some things to think about and how you might address those issues. And then there's the checklist for that as well. And then the last, I think this is the last one, comprehensive assessment guidelines. You all have probably seen this if you've watched my assessment training, the ABLES VB-MAP, choosing the right assessment training, but it's just been updated a little bit. And then there's the checklist for that one. And then the last one focuses on parent coaching. So there's information for behavior analysts about parent coaching and how do we set up collaborative parent coaching with a checklist. Oops, well, I'm going to have to fix that because right now the checklist is on connected relationships and that's not the right checklist. So I need to update my PDF file before I do anything with it. See, this is why we haven't put it out yet. But there is a checklist for the parent coaching one. So we have the parent coaching and then at the very end, there's like a bonus sheet because I constantly get asked by people about what do we do? How do we help parents understand why we're using play-based? strategies. So there's like a handout you can give to parents that explains it. And I thought I had this organized so that they were back to back, but I didn't. I need to reformat this. But anyway, so I'll finish going through. We have the 6 areas to assess for assent. So that's connected relationships, emotional regulation, the big 4, executive functioning skills, then function-based treatments, and environmental supports woven in through that with the checklist. Building and sustaining connected relationships. So I need to switch these because there's that parent checklist. They just didn't get put in the right order. And then finally, this is the last one that I was talking about. So why we use play-based and child-led approaches, a guide for parents. So this goes through some of the research and how we can take data and update families on the progress their clients are making. And then there's also just a few points for the parents. It's just to understand like why it is that we would do it this way. So as I mentioned, there's additional topics we could cover because we can talk about, like, this doesn't really have anything, to Joe's point, about adult related services. This is mostly focused on younger learners and working with the families and a lot of those early skills. So in the future, we'll have hopefully other similar guides if people think these are helpful that, you know, focus on additional topics as well. Questions, thoughts, giant things missing for a first start pack?
For a starter pack, this is amazing, Megan. Like, absolutely amazing. With like, you know, especially with how young our field is, this is a great like beginner, like, hey, this is just to help you, to guide you, and just give you some quick tips, I think.
Awesome. Thank you. Nicole, love. You are the resource queen. That is, I need to really just dive in and like lean into that title and do more based off of that, but I'm trying. I'm super excited because I finally have, someone who, well, first of all, I have to give huge credit to Nicole because you helped me with those spreadsheets and like your excitement around all of these resources. And I have someone here locally who, he's a realtor, but he loves to make marketing materials. So I've been just putting stuff into Word documents and then he's taking it and making it look nicer for me. So that's been really helpful. And I can finally make a lot of the things in my brain come better alive visually with him right now. So, and he does things so fast. He'll be like, it takes him a few hours and he's like, I'm sorry that took so long. And I'm like, really? So a huge shout out to Jesse for helping me with that. Yeah. So any thoughts, questions, any, or areas like Joe had already mentioned, obviously anything adult related is typically lacking, or I'm guessing Leslie too, with what you were talking about with like navigating transition services right now. Yes. Kim said, I work with teachers and this will be so valuable for teachers. Yes. And I'm hoping like these are general enough that they really should work in any context, whether it's school, home, center based, because they're, like Joe said, they're things that, especially if you're a newer BCBA, should help you kind of hit the ground running. But then obviously the more entrenched people get with their specific job, whether it's school, adults, etc., more and more specific lists would be needed. So I'm hoping we can continue to make similar resources and, you know, sort of funnel down into those niches that people are needing more support in.
I know one area would be like if you are contracted to be an independent educational evaluator. If you get contracted for a school to come in and do your own independent analysis of a case, like that'd be really interesting, like good to have that, like just like a foundation, like how to really have that collaborative background, how to really work with school systems, because they're a completely different animal to work with. I love working with schools, but it's definitely like you have to know how to collaborate with them.
Yeah.
Well, and each district is different, you know, at least here. Like, I have one, I can go to any school in the district, and one, they don't let anyone in the district. So,
Mhm. Yep.
All
So it's
depends on who you know.
yeah, and
having,
yeah.
well, you having basically like different things like, okay, here's your resources for the schools that let you in. Here's the resources for the schools that don't let you in. And then to Joe's point, like, how do you build those relationships so the schools will let you in?
I feel like some of those graphics, when I first saw them, it like triggered some core memories of some of the stuff you did at navigation. Like
Hmm.
you had so much kind of checklists and flow charts and stuff that I'd saved, over the years.
Yes. And we have, that's another thing that's on my list for do better and like the membership, which I keep meaning to reach out to you, Nicole, and see if you want to tackle that beast or not. But I have all of those things still in box folders. I just don't have them organized. But there's also this part where it's like, not that I want to completely reinvent the wheel. Obviously, some of those things are outdated too, or need to be updated. But then I kind of go back and forth on, well, that's a good learning opportunity for people to have a template of this is what it can look like, and how can I update this based on current practices so they're not just like copying and pasting stuff. But I also understand people are busy and really just want something they can use and don't have to update. Okay, Nicole said, I'm here to tackle beast and we can make everything match your new jazzy stuff. So I will definitely be following up probably like mid-October with you about that, because I have some back-to-back things happening right now. I get to actually go, a fun way to end the podcast. I'm taking my son and like the whole rest of the family. We're going October 14th to the 17th on the Savannah Bananas cruise. So super excited about that. If you don't know who the Savannah Bananas are, they're like a funny baseball team, and the party animals will be there. And so will the they're firefighter themed. I forget what their name is. Yeah, it's the first year they're doing it. So they are leaving out of Miami and we get to go to a Savannah Bananas baseball game on that Sunday. And then the cruise is Monday to Friday. So it's going to be a fun time, but I'm trying not to like initiate any new projects until we get back from that, because that would just be silly. All right. We have a few minutes left for our hour. Does anyone else have anything they want to talk about for today, or any other thoughts to share with what we did talk about?
I don't have anything, Megan, but I tell you what, like, I love everything that you brought to the table, and I'm super excited for the next few months because of the opportunities that a bunch of our listeners have. They definitely need to just attend and just learn from things that are coming out. So I'm super excited to see them come to life.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Nicole, I just saw that you had the
Hmm.
question about the spreadsheet for conferences. I don't have one. I know I saw someone that was creating one. So if I see it again, I'll send it to you and then I'll add it to the show notes as well. And then I see the next question is a plug for another conference. Which one is it?
So Melanie Page from the ABA Collective, if you guys are not familiar, she is doing a first time conference in February that I'm helping her with called ABA Reimagined. And so it's going to be 3 tracks. One is like kind of innovative interventions in autism. One track is going to be using ABA for like personal things. And then the third track is like pioneers, so people that are using ABA like in different spaces. And if you know me, you know that this is something I'm super passionate about. So I'm very excited about the conference. Anyone that wants to submit a presentation can still do that until September 30th. And then the conference is going to be online through Behavior Live in February.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. That's exciting that you're helping her plan it as well. And I'll put the link to that in the show notes as well. I'll just grab it off Behavior Live for those who are interested in attending or submitting a presentation. And then Leslie plugged APBA is going to be in Dallas at the end of March. I'm not sure if I'll get to go or not because I'm not sure when I'm going back to China. So once I find that out, I'll know more, but you should go in case you'll at least see Leslie there. All right. Well, I'm glad we all got to chat and catch up on some of these resources and conferences that are happening. Just as a reminder, so I already mentioned this, but next week, October 1st, if you're listening to this as a recording and it's past October 1st, sorry. But if you remember, we'll be doing meeting with Dr. Megan, probably continuing to focus on some stuff relating to instructional design. And then October 8th, we're doing another podcast episode with Callie Plattner about motivational interviewing. October 15th, Nicole is presenting our monthly webinar on ABA outside of autism. And then on the 22nd, instead of having our podcast recording, we'll do the meeting with me on that day. So we're just going to like flip flop those things. And the 29th, we'll do a meeting with me as well, since we have an extra Tuesday in October. All right. Okay. Well, you want to close this out, Joe?
All right. So let's go ahead and go forth and do better.
Bye, everyone.